Hello and welcome back to another episode of Sports Talk with Dad. We have a lot to talk about today. The Packers are doing stupid things, the Jets are doing great things, and we are going to talk the greatest guy movies of all time. But before we get into any of that, as always, my name is Kyle, and I cannot call this Sports Talk with Dad without the man sitting next to me, a man who taught me how not to treat your wife on Mother's Day, my dad, Tim.
Really? Really? We're going to get into that?
I mean, Mother's Day is coming up.
Have you taken care of?
I'm squared away.
You're squared away. Kids have gotten all their gifts for her.
We did that yesterday, which is days in advance of Mother's Day. I got my mom taken care of. I don't get stuff for my wife on Mother's Day because she's not my mom. Sure, and I had that talk.
I
a long time
always
ago.
something for her on Mother's Day.
Yeah, I won't. Her birthday's coming up. I'll get something on birthday, anniversaries, which I also learned how to do better than... You know what? Anniversaries, you were good. Anniversaries, you were solid. Mother's Day...
Only one.
You made Mom cry.
Oh.
She cried. She still talks about it.
So, she wanted a Monk's Burger one night. It was the night before Mother's Day.
Yeah. Monk's is a restaurant, by the way, in the Wisconsin Dells. The best burgers
on the face of the planet.
It's the only burgers that rival my burgers.
Your burgers can get too thick.
Well, dude, I screwed them up like 3 nights ago.
So, Monk's Burgers are just off the chart good. They've used the same grill probably since the Civil War.
Called Monk's because they literally had a monkey in the bar when it first started.
They did.
And that's where it came from.
And you can only go to the original one on the main drag in Wisconsin Dells, not
Lake Delton, Wisconsin Dells.
So me and a friend went up and with the idea of picking up some burgers and coming back. Somebody suggested we have a drink. That was the start of a bad idea. We got home 1 o'clock.
Yeah. Mother's Day had begun.
Mother's Day had begun. This is all not my fault. It was other people's fault for buying me drinks.
Yeah.
We brought back Monk's Burgers. Your mom didn't want it at that point. I think that's
why Mom started to get upset was because of the not my fault situation.
This was totally my fault. And I took blame for it. But like you, the day that I made you get up at 7:30 and mow the lawn,
yeah,
I was awake at 8 o'clock on Mother's Day, and we did do everything she wanted to do.
Yeah.
I just did it with a really bad hangover.
Yeah.
Which was not a good idea.
No.
So I've apologized profusely, and I've let it go at this point. But guys, don't go and drink.
No.
On the day before Mother's Day, and I don't drink anymore. So
to be fair, the start of the end of my drinking, when I started to get into my sober living, was my wife's birthday. Would have been what, 2-3 years ago now? How long?
3 now, I think.
I think it's 2.
2?
I think I'm coming into my second year of being. I mean, let's call it what it is. Being sober. I woke up and couldn't move until 2 in the afternoon because of how much I drank the night before. So I understand where you're coming from. It was a lesson learned. Don't drink before special days for your wife. It's never a good idea. But I've never screwed up Mother's Day. Just birthday.
Riddle me this once.
Yeah.
And for every mother out there, they should be spoiled. I took care of your grandma on Mother's Day every year.
Yep.
She was my mom. We made sure it was always a good day for her.
Yes.
Then comes Father's Day.
Yeah.
Father's Day is the day where guys have to cook. Mother's Day is the day that moms don't cook.
Listen, I've come down to the science with this, which is Mother's Day is a day where mom gets a break from the kids. Father's Day is a special day where fathers get to spend all day with the kids. That is the reality of the situation, which, you know what, in traditional situations, which I am very fortunate to have a traditional situation where my wife stays home with the kids, it makes sense.
Yes, she needs a break.
in a day where both parents work, it doesn't make as much sense. But Crystal's amazing because she does want to spend time with the kid. She just loves being a mom. So it's a very special
She's
day
a great
for her.
mom. And yes, you are lucky. And, you had an incredible mom.
I did.
I always-
I still do. I'm very
Well,
lucky
you still
for that
do.
as
You
well.
still do. I guess I'm talking about my mom in past tense. I was very blessed.
Yes.
So for all the guys out there, don't drink the night before Mother's Day
No, or birthdays.
or birthdays, unless they're doing it with you.
Yeah.
But even then, spoil your significant other and the mothers on Mother's Day. Happy Mothers.
I will make
you
an
go.
argument here, though. I will make an argument here because this is where
You're going to go down a bad path.
I'm going to, and I want to know from our audience.
Don't do it.
I don't get my wife anything for Mother's Day. I make sure the kids get stuff, and we do arts and crafts to make sure she is taken care of for Mother's Day from the kids. And I get my mom something, and my kids get my mom something because it's their grandma. I don't get anything for my wife for Mother's Day. I don't believe in the concept. And it's not that she's not spoiled. I pay for whatever food she wants. I make sure she has a very special day, but I don't get her a gift for
That's-
Mother's Day.
That's the difference between your wife and your mom.
That's fair. I just don't understand the not my mom.
I went down that path one time.
Yeah.
I never went down that path again. Your mom always had something on Mother's Day.
I think I'm the rare one, and I think my wife just doesn't. She's very much a time person. I just want time. My mother pretends that it's all about time. That's not true.
No,
She definitely wants a gift
Yes,
for
she
Mother's
does.
Day because I fell for that trap once, and that is not an accurate statement.
Why didn't you ask me? I would have told you it was
It was an excuse to be cheap in that situation. Lesson
Bad
learned.
move.
Got a gift this year. But for Mother's Day, husbands, yes, she's the mother of my children.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. It's a weird one. And it's a weird line because, that's not, Mother's Day is for the kids to get something for her.
keep selling it. Your mom ain't buying it.
I don't know if my wife buys it, but I still may end up getting her something for
I would
Mother's
say
Day.
that'd be a good idea.
I don't know. You let us know what you think in the comments below. And while you're down there, like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get to enjoy this show as much as we enjoy making it, because it is a dangerous line to play. Do you get your wife something for Mother's Day or not? Because she's the mother of your children.
Look, your mom and I aren't together anymore,
No.
but we are still friends.
Yes.
I sent her a happy Mother's Day and thanked her for you and your brother
Yes.
until probably the last 5 years.
God damn it.
So just leave it at that, because without her, I don't have you guys.
Yeah.
Now, do I send your sister's mom something? No, I don't. But,
Fair.
that's a different story for a different day.
Yeah,
So-
that's fair. But yes, Father's Day is an interesting day as well, which Father's Day is going to start to get more fun for me, I think, because for Father's Day, and we'll talk about this going forward, we always go and play golf. The last couple of years, you've caddied for me, but we've still been out on the golf course, had a good time. My oldest son is now getting old enough to where he actually wants to tag along, which is exciting for me because because normally you and I go at 6 a.m.
We go early so we can get back and do
One, I love golfing at 6 a.m. because nobody's there.
true.
2, I get back to spend the rest of the day with my kids.
3, we get to make a nice breakfast, and then
Yeah,
you're great, and Crystal's great. She lets me spend the day with you guys and hang out with the
it's a
boys.
good day.
It's a great day all around.
It is.
But Grayson, the older the boys get, and it was the same with you guys.
Yeah.
The older you get, the more fun you get on Father's Day.
Right.
It's fun to play with you when you're babies and whatever, to a point. But when they start doing the different things,
This is the
a lot of fun.
transition where, because my oldest is 10 right now, and that's the transition where it goes all about being about mom to where dad gets to step in a little bit more. and that's a fun transition I'm starting to see. Not for my wife, which is why Mother's Day has to be very
Really
special
good.
this year, because she is not as much of a fan of this transition as I am. But enough about the detriment that is happening to my life, and more
I'm
to
going to change the subject. May 6th, 1998.
just going to transition to that because you and I had a very special anniversary ourselves just a
did.
couple days ago. I'll let you get into it.
So May 6th, 1998, I'm at home and the Cubs game is on.
Yes.
I watch the Cubs all the time. I start watching the game. Harry Wood is pitching. And he starts striking people out. And in about the middle of the second inning, I call Kyle, who you would have been about 9 or 10 at that point.
No, 98. I would have been 7,
You're
maybe
born?
8.
Okay. I was putting you a little older.
This is what I was
Wait,
first grade in 90.
No, you would have been 9 because you were born in 89, 98, 99. You would have been 10.
Okay.
Anyways, I pull him in. I said, you got to watch this because you may not ever see anything like this again.
You know what? I was 7 when the Packers won the Super Bowl.
Yes.
That's where I got screwed up. All special moments in my life, by the way.
One I had when I was very young.
Yeah.
I remember the ice bowl, believe it or not, because your brother and your dad were there.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Your
Look.
brother and your dad.
my brother and my dad. Yes. My brother had a broken
Right.
foot. Anyways, so I bring in
Focused.
Masa Focus. Bring him in. And again, look at you and say, you may not ever see this again. Watch this game. And I watched you not only become a baseball fan, but a Cubs fan at that moment.
Yes.
Because it was the Kerry Wood 20 strikeout game. And you and I watched every
Yes.
single pitch.
As you said, it was one of the happiest and disappointing moments you've had as a father because 1, you did make me a baseball fan. 2, you made me a Cubs fan and not a Brewers fan in that moment.
I'm a Cubs
We were
fan
both,
too.
but
I
it was
both.
at that time. See, the joy of you is Brewers were American, Cubs were national.
Correct.
Before I became a sports fan in general, when I was too young to really remember, the Brewers came to the National League Central, and so a choice had to be made. You have always, until this recent season, been more of a Brewers fan than a Cubs fan.
That's not true because in 2016, I don't think I've ever been happier in my life.
No, that's fair. You were definitely on the line. Like you definitely,
I love both teams. I
you
admit
do.
it.
You
I
do love both teams, and it was very easy for you to cheer for the Cubs in that situation. But I'm just saying, if they ever played against each other, especially when the playoffs were on the line.
It depends. If Ryan Braun was on the Brewers, I would have been a huge Cub fan.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's not even close.
That's fair.
Ryan,
2 years ago, you and I were fighting when the playoffs were on the line.
It was fun.
But I do remember that it is one of my earliest memories. I remember the Super Bowl because we had a party at our house for the Super Bowl.
Right.
And I remember being introduced to the love of gambling because I won a lot of money that night.
You did.
Mom was not happy with you, but she allowed it. And who knew that, I would find poker a few years later.
That's true.
But it is one of my earliest core memories. This is definitely a core memory that has stuck with me for my entire life because I do remember it was early in the game. You knew something was happening. I watched it and you said, watch this because you will never see this again.
I just never saw anybody who just was so dominant.
He was
And
locked
you knew it
too.
early.
Yeah.
He just was in control. Their good hitters were being made to look foolish.
Yeah.
And I've never seen it since then. I know, and everybody talks about the fact, well, Roger Clemens did it too. Roger Clemens was expected to do it.
Yeah.
Kerry Woods was a kid. He was a rookie.
And became expected after that. And I learned early in I'm a Kerry Wood fan to this day. He is my all-time favorite baseball player to this day. From that very moment, I just loved watching him pitch. I wanted to see the Yankees win a World Series when he was in the Yankees. I'm a Kerry Wood fan ahead of everything else. He is my all-time favorite player. And when he was starting from that moment on, you couldn't pull me away from the television.
No.
Like the TV was mine. Kerry Wood was on the TV and I was going to watch him pitch.
I think the only bad part about it for Kerry was that it happened so early. And he really needed, and I know Nolan Ryan reached out to him, and
Yeah.
Roger Clemens reached out to him and said, we can help you with your mechanics.
But it's what made him so great. It's the argument I've always had with baseball, and it's the biggest fight I have with other baseball fans today, is Kerry Wood became immortal that day. That game is talked about every day. It is known as Kerry Wood Day in Cubs circles and in many baseball circles, and will be known as Kerry Wood Day in baseball for all time. It is the 20 strikeout day where you saw a pitcher do something magic. It's the same argument you and I recently had about the Freak. About why am I blanking on his name? Huh? No, we're talking baseball right now.
All right. Well, he's the Freak. I think Greek Freak.
No. Giants pitcher should be in the Hall of Fame.
Tim Lincecum?
Tim Lincecum.
Oh,
it's the same argument I have with Tim Lincecum, because you bring him up early, you let him pitch. He wouldn't have been the same pitcher if he hadn't been just allowed to pitch and his mechanics were changed. It's an unfortunate side effect. He still had a great career. Was it a Hall of Fame career? If the Cubs win the World Series in 2003, I think so.
Maybe, and you and I have talked about it many times. He should have been brought into the Bartman game, and I hate calling it that, but it was Game 6 of the Miami series.
Yeah, I mean, he is. I'm biased, so I never like to judge Kerry Wood because I am very biased in that debate. I do think he's one of the greatest pitchers of all time for a small time frame.
Very short.
He was as dominant as any pitcher in the league at that time frame, and that goes up to 2003. He was starting to get hurt a little bit before then, but
he will never buy a drink in Chicago.
No.
Ever.
No. 34 to me. I actually had an issue when John Lester wore 34. I really did.
You would, though. I mean, look, people are going to wear 34. It's not going to be retired, but May 6th will always be remembered. I think they did something for it this year.
They do every year.
Yeah.
It's just a performance that when you watch it's not anything you've ever seen in baseball before.
One of the shining moments in Cubs history, and it will go down. And I think most baseball fans who got to see that game look at it and go, yeah, that was something really special. Even if you're not a Cubs fan, you've got it now. And I've talked to a lot of Cardinal fans too, and they're all, to a person, they went, that was just something special.
Yeah.
We've never seen that.
I'll never forget, I remembered it was Kerry Wood Day on May 6th, and shortly after that was Mother's Day. And on May 6th, I didn't remember Mother's Day was coming up for one of my wife's first Mother's Day. And it's where she learned where I stand in the world. But you know what? I obviously did remember, and she was great about it. Because she told me, she says, you being passionate about a day like that is why I married you. And it's why I love my wife. It's why we will make it a special Mother's Day for her.
So we're going to stay in baseball a little bit.
Uh-oh.
The Milwaukee Brewers, now we're going back to the other team that I've followed in my lifetime.
I know what you're about to bring up. Folks, this is about as Wisconsin as it gets.
This would only happen in Wisconsin. The rest of the country that watches this show is going to go, you've got to be kidding me.
No.
So the Milwaukee Brewers earlier this season, because games were going faster.
Games are a lot faster this year.
They decided, well, it's going faster. We're going to extend the amount of time we can sell beer from the 7th inning to the 8th or 9th.
Yeah, so to go back, baseball in general has a rule where after the 7th inning, no alcohol is sold anymore.
With the idea being that gives you a fair amount of time.
Sober up.
Make you sober up and make it comfortable to drive home. So you can go and have a beer at a game without worrying about it. Well, the Brewers decided that's not enough. Games are faster, so we've got to let people drink into the 8th inning. They changed it as of yesterday. They moved it back to the 7th inning, but the reason they said that was beer sales didn't really increase that much after the 7th inning.
Two things here, because this is where thought process I want to understand. One, games are moving faster, right?
Why would they go to the 8th?
So why would you extend it later,
knowing going earlier?
Because really you have less time to sober up now.
It's Wisconsin.
Again. Two, it's been so ingrained, I think, in sports fans and baseball fans in general, that the 7th inning is the cutoff.
Correct.
So I don't think people paid attention enough. And honestly, because the games are going faster, one thing I want to see with baseball in general is what the concession stand sales look like at the end of this year, because it is harder to get into the concession stands because the games are going so
Which
much
is
faster.
Great. When I was growing up, you had hot dog sales in the stands all the time.
And you don't see that as much anymore.
No.
That changed when I was a kid, because I remember when that changed in Wrigley.
And the other thing with Milwaukee that I think is different than certainly in Chicago and a lot of other places, tailgating at a Brewers game is part of the experience.
Correct.
Everybody tailgates there,
Correct.
even more so than Packer games.
Well, you can't do it in Wrigley because it's
In the middle of
city.
downtown.
Chicago, when they moved to Arlington, because Chicago Bears fans love coming to Green Bay and tailgating.
Sure. Oh, it'll be a big thing. And
You see it in Green Bay, Bears fans and Packer fans tailgating together. It's actually an amazing thing. And then if the Bears start winning, it can get a little ugly. But the Bears fans I've talked to are very excited to go to Arlington specifically because of tailgating. And I think Wrigley, you'd see that too, but you can't because it's in a city.
correct. And in Milwaukee, they've got the huge parking lot.
Because Kansas City with the
do.
Chiefs, they do tailgating as well.
Sure.
It's a big thing there.
A
Also.
lot of barbecue in Kansas City.
But it was invented in Green Bay. Tailgating
It
was
was.
invented in Green Bay.
Lot
Do
of
you know how?
I do not.
Because it has the name for a very specific reason.
Probably because of pickups,
It is because of pickups.
because they have a tailgate on the back,
Correct.
and that's where everything happened.
At Citi Field, there were bleachers, but only in one section originally. And so people up in Citi Field, which is now what Lambeau is, by the way, people would back up their pickup trucks and sit on the back of their pickups and drink beer and eat hot dogs. And thus
Brats.
tailgating wasn't brats. Yes, their tailgating was invented. Citi Field was such a ridiculous build, by the way, that they didn't have lights because they were afternoon games. And so when it would start to get darker, people would actually drive up their trucks and turn on their lights just so they could finish the game. But back to your point, sorry.
No, back to it just, you and I don't drink. So it's not that
Not
big a deal.
anymore. No, you
But
never really did. I don't drink anymore.
In Wisconsin, you'd go to the tailgate, you'd start drinking 2 hours before the game.
Right.
I've never understood people who are just pounding beers every inning. I know people who've done it. Never been my thing because
No.
I want to
Even-
watch the
even
game.
in
I want
my-
to watch the game.
Right. When I was drinking more than I ever had in my life, I didn't drink at baseball games a lot. Because again, why am I going to a baseball game
Right.
to drink? Like I can watch the game at home and do that.
Exactly. So, and why I'm not going to pay $8-10 for a glass of beer
Right.
and just keep pounding like
Well, and
that.
then your
So-
day's done. Like especially during a noon game. Like,
Well, in any case, I'm proud of the Brewers for moving it back.
well, the only reason they moved it back is because they weren't making any money after extending it.
I'm going to give them a little bit more credit that somebody got to them and went, "Do you really want people drinking
Nope.
into the 8th and 9th inning?"
I don't think that's the case at all.
I don't either, but I'd like to give them credit for it. But then again, they didn't re-sign Corbin Burns for what they should have. So why would I expect that?
Yeah, I think probably there were some groups that put some pressure on them, and when they saw
You
they
think?
weren't making as much money anymore,
I think Mad was probably all over them. That's
Yes.
Mothers Against Drunk Driving.
yes,
Great organization. And yeah, Brewers.
drinking
have
and
a-
driving is still an interesting thing in Wisconsin, where after a Brewer game you avoid the interstate for a little bit. The crazy thing is, though, it's only on country roads where the accidents happen due to drunk driving late at night.
Well, it's look, I am so anti-drunk driving after August 17th, 2019.
Yeah.
That I have no time. If you've been drinking, stay off the freaking roads.
I don't get the drinking and driving either. Never been a thing of mine.
No.
But yeah, it is very interesting that they ever moved it to begin
I
with.
couldn't believe it when I heard it. I'm like, excuse me?
Yeah, another thing to be mad at, and this is an interesting trend in the NFL, I think, in general here. So, Green Bay Packers, right, which I've been avoiding talking about because I've been very upset at the team that
Why?
I am
Because
part
you're-
owner of.
Because you may be going into the period like I was in the 70s and 80s.
Maybe a very
Long dark
This was
period.
never a talk when Aaron Rodgers came to start. There was a
No.
lot of hope and happiness. They're like, Aaron Rodgers is going to be good. It's
Really
just a
good.
matter of how good he's going to be. Will he be as good as Favre was? But it was no doubt like this is our starter for the next long period of time.
Nobody expected him to be better than Favre, which I think by any measure
again,
he was.
It was Rodgers is going to be good.
Yes.
How good can he be is the question, and we found out he wasn't only going to be good, he's great.
One of the greatest to
of all
ever
time.
play. Right.
That is not the conversation happening around Green Bay right now.
No.
It's the conversation is can Jordan Love be Don Majkowski?
Who was a decent quarterback.
Good quarterback.
He led the league in passing one year.
Listen, the Packers went from a good quarterback, a top 15 quarterback in the league, to back-to-back Hall of Famers.
Probably a top 10
at
one time. At 89, 90.
Yeah, he led the league in passing yards.
He was right there. Nobody thought of him as one of the best in the league, but he was.
No. He was very much
He was a very serviceable.
He was a Fitzpatrick. Nobody questioned if he was a starting quarterback in the league. Maybe a step above Fitzpatrick, but maybe a Flacco.
Yeah,
maybe a Garoppolo. You can win with the guy.
Herbert.
I don't think his story's been written enough yet.
Dak Prescott.
That's a good comparison.
I think he's more. Yeah, he's a Dak Prescott kind of guy. I don't think he ever would have gotten you to the promised land, but he was going to be very competitive every single year.
Eventually, you're going to want to upgrade the position, but
correct. And
a Jared Goff, I think, would be a very good.
That's perfect
comparison.
He broke his leg. Favre came in. The rest is history. They went 30. How many years? 30 years.
I mean, yeah, my entire life.
Your entire life with two quarterbacks
from 92 to now. So,
and now here's the Packers quarterback situation for this season. Jordan Love is your starter.
Yeah. Next Hall of Famer, please.
Please, for the love of God. His backup is going to be one of two people.
Yeah.
Sean Clifford, who just got drafted out of Penn State, rookie.
Yeah, didn't look good in that first practice.
Or Danny Etling, who was on the team last year on the practice squad.
They're not bringing in a veteran.
They're not.
And people are saying, well, you can bring in somebody like Matt Ryan, but that's going to put too much pressure. You don't need to bring in Matt Ryan, but you could bring in Blake Bortles, who was on your team last year for a time.
Here's my thing. I would have no problem with a Matt Ryan because he would know his position. He wouldn't play unless Love got hurt. He knows it going in. The Packers are putting no veteran leadership on this team. So like in the wide receiver room, I think you need a veteran in there to teach these guys how to be professional football players.
Nope.
Not happening.
Which is not how Ted Thompson ran things.
There was always a smattering of veterans to help the new guys.
There were veterans in there when Greg Jennings came in. Then Greg Jennings was the veteran when the other young guys came in. And then when Adams came in, you had veterans there.
Correct.
You always had veterans that were teaching the young guys. And then when the young guys were ready, you didn't sign that third contract.
And I don't buy the argument that I've been hearing a lot around here. Well, the Packers have to just clean house and just start from scratch. They didn't have to do that for 30 years. They kept rebuilding and building and building. And it wasn't until some really bad decisions by the front office that led them into this position.
You won front office guy.
Yeah.
I mean, Goody's been the reason for a lot of this. And the fact that the Packers were so intent on getting a first round pick, which will be a high second round or a late first round pick next year, I think they're preparing the fact that they may need to get a new quarterback in next year's draft, which, I mean, the fact that there's been no when Rodgers came in, the conversation was, this is our quarterback.
Correct.
This is when he was the starter, he got an extension immediately for the next 5 years to let everybody know this is our quarterback going forward.
It wasn't even, they never even got to the conversation, are we going to exercise a fifth-year option? They signed him to a long-term deal.
Yeah, well, they didn't have the fifth-year option back then, but still.
They extended him for a long time.
They did, and they drafted two quarterbacks. Don't forget, Brian Braum in the second round and Matt Flynn in the fourth round.
And Flynn is a record holder for the Packers. He had to play one the year that Rodgers hurt his collarbone.
No, he did that too, but that record year was not. It was the year.
Different.
It was the year. I think they were 15-1.
They sat Rodgers in last game.
Yeah,
and
then we lost
let it up
like we always do.
first round. Anyways, Jordan Love is just, he's not getting any respect by the organization. He's not acting like he believes in himself. I would have forced their hand and said, look, I'll play on my $3 million contract and then leave.
That's what Flacco did and won the Super Bowl. I just don't know, because you're going to see in training camp if you have to bring in a veteran, and if you have to bring in a veteran, then you're in trouble.
I think they already think they're in trouble.
This could be a very long year. I don't understand why. Like, okay, he sat behind Rodgers, but you still had people in place behind Rodgers. I don't get this one at all. I really don't.
I respect the hell out of Jordan Love just by the way he's handled this whole situation. He's been professional.
Yeah.
He's kept his mouth shut when a lot of people wouldn't have.
Nope.
He's handled it perfectly. I am rooting for him to be successful.
For Jordan Love's sake, I want him to be the next Hall of Fame.
I would love to see that. I would love for him to blow everybody away, but I would be happy with a Don Majkowski-like career, minus the injury.
I think that's the worst thing that could happen to the Packers organization.
What, if he's serviceable for 5 years?
Yeah. This kid needs to either be really good or really bad.
I will give Goody credit. I think the last 2 drafts that he's had have the potential to be really good drafts.
Last year, you got 5 starters out of it, which is really, really good.
Talk to me in 3 years.
Yeah,
this year,
sure.
he got a bunch of injury concerns with the guys he picked up.
Well, yeah, he drafted 2 tight ends that didn't play last year.
And a wide receiver from Virginia that didn't play last year, but
right.
could be the biggest,
a lot of potential,
biggest steal of the draft. And he reached for a defensive end that he could have gotten in the second round.
Yeah. Goody drafts off potential. I actually looked at his last few drafts, and it's all like these are either home runs or they're busts. And you can't draft like that. You need guys that you know that are just going to be serviceable in the league, and maybe they take off, especially in late rounds, but they're all potential. Like, these guys have the potential to be great, and just so few of those guys with that potential become, like, we just brought in a guy from, I think he's from Africa somewhere, who's never played football before.
I think in the summer of 25, there'll be a new president.
Yeah.
And he'll clean house.
Yeah.
I honestly think Goody and LaFleur are on borrowed time.
Unless something really special happens this year, which is not looking... I think Rodgers made up for a lot of bad last year. And I think you're about to see all that come to fruition this year. This is going to be...
I hope we're wrong. I mean, I'm rooting for Jordan Love to be successful. I'd love to see him be the next Hall of Fame quarterback.
I don't even think it has everything to do with Jordan Love. I just think it's a bad roster.
It's a lot of really, really, really young guys. I don't know if they have anybody over 30, maybe 2 or 3.
I think Preston Smith is your veteran on that team.
Mason Crosby, who probably won't be back.
He's not on the team. They drafted a kicker who only kicked 71%.
Why wouldn't they have drafted a kid out of Michigan?
I don't know.
I mean, if you're going to draft a kicker, go get the best in the league. I don't think it was, everybody is criticizing it. I actually don't think it was a stretch to take him in the 3rd round because he's so good. It's like everybody criticized the Raiders when Ray Guy was taken in the 1st round. He's a Hall of Famer. It was the right pick.
Yeah, I mean, I think Janikowski was more the argument of the high pick. But I mean, the Mason Crosby was drafted in the 4th round. I mean, if you can find a kicker that's going to last you forever, then you find the kicker. I don't understand this pick, but they're moving on from Mason Crosby. They're moving on
back
from everybody. It has the potential to be a really long season. Did you hear what else the NFL did with the flex scheduling now? They just announced.
Don't ever tell me that the NFL cares about players' safety again.
Well, they don't care about fans.
No.
So you could always be flexed on Sunday to later on Sunday, which is annoying, but whatever. You're already there. Travel plans had already been made. It is what it is. Now you can be flexed to Monday or even Thursday.
Yeah.
NFL you clearly don't care about your fans at all.
And in Wisconsin, most of the Packer fans go to the games from out of the area.
Correct. Vegas is going to be a big one. There's a lot of Packer fans that are going to want to go to Vegas.
Sure.
Can you imagine if that game gets flexed especially to Thursday, and you get a week's notice.
The NFL is doing what the NFL wants. People are going to start to get hurt, and the fans are going to have to, for the first time, stand up and go, "This is not acceptable."
Well, dude, can you imagine? Because you're planning vacations at that point. You need to take off work. You need to buy hotels. You need to buy tickets. You have your tickets in hands that you paid for.
Green Bay.
Can you imagine if you're planning on going there on a Sunday and then all of a sudden it gets flexed to Thursday, or vice versa? It's a Thursday and then the game gets flexed to Sunday.
And this is not just,
you've already paid for all of this.
What happens if you could be Chicago, you could be a Boston, a New England fan, a New York fan, going to Florida, going to Vegas, going to LA. This is affecting the entire country. We aren't being homers on this.
I'm not paying for tickets knowing that game could be flexed.
Every fan base should be just up in arms about this.
Yeah. Even if you are at home, say you're a Raiders fan and you buy those tickets, you could still be in Vegas and it still affects your entire schedule.
You're a Packer fan, and all of a sudden you're flexed.
You're going to see people not be in stadiums. You're going to start to see Kansas City not get sold out. You're going to start to see Green Bay not be sold out.
That will never happen.
It's going to start causing a lot of issues. You say that, but why would you go to the game? It's already a better product on TV than it is in the stadiums.
Because people are Packer fans. Packers are just different.
People are Chiefs fans, but at some point,
fans
are going to step up and say enough is enough.
I hope they do. And this is going to sound like a homer, but I'll say it. Packer fans are the best fans in all of sports in this country. They will follow that team, win, lose, or draw. You can move them around and they'll still be there.
We'll see.
We'll see. I think they will be, but
we will see.
Find out.
Another thing I want to talk to you about. So I saw something on the internet, I guess is the best way to put it. But I was messing around and something came up in my feed where it ranked the best guy movies of all time. Now, considering you have bad taste in movies,
I have great taste.
I thought it would be interesting to go through this list and let us know, by the way, what you think about all this in the comments below. And while you're down there, like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get to enjoy this show as much as we enjoy making it. But on Ranker, there's a list of best guy movies of all time, 1 to however far down it goes. I don't think I ever reached the end, honestly. But I wanted to know what you thought about the best guy movies of all time, and then what you thought about the list and where people ranked.
Okay. You know me. Any list is going to be ones, and I rate a good movie as one where if I'm watching TV, I'll stop and watch the rest.
Yes.
So there are movies like Shawshank Redemption on that list for me. Major League is absolutely on that list.
Definitely.
Rocky 1 and 2. John Wayne, it could be The Shootist, it could be Rio Bravo, it could be...
And they're all the same movie.
They are not the same movie.
They're all the exact same movie.
No, that is not the case.
Pick your John Wayne movie. Early guy walks in.
McClintock.
People think he's a bad guy, realize he's the good guy, and then he leaves the town. Yep, same thing happens. Leaves the town at the end of the day.
Great movie.
It's the same movie.
It's not the same movie. Not even close. And please agree with me in the comments. Movies. I'm a big fan of movies like The Great Escape, The Dirty Dozen, which made it okay for guys to cry at movies because Jim Brown, he's trying to race, and he almost got to the end with the last hand grenade, and then he was shot. Anyways, Brian's Song,
the original.
I don't even have to say that. There's only been one. I like movies like Tombstone, The Hustler.
I don't know that movie.
The Hustler, Paul Newman, Jackie Gleason.
I don't like any Paul Newman movies.
You like Cool Hand Luke? One of the greatest movies of all time. Love that movie.
Hard to watch.
What?
Yeah, bad movie.
It's a great movie. Should have won the Academy Award. Wow,
for what?
Paul Newman should have won the Oscar for Cool Hand Luke.
Yeah, he was great in that movie.
It was great.
I'll give you that. It doesn't mean it was a good movie.
Dirty Harry, which I don't know if you've ever seen.
I haven't seen Dirty Harry.
Dirty Harry, the first one was just unbelievable. I go between Batman, the very first, Jack Nicholson, Michael Keaton.
Yeah. The Dark Knight.
Dark Knight with Heath Ledger.
Yep.
I just don't like Christian Bale as Batman. I just never did. And then, got the comedies like old school, Back to School, Caddyshack, Animal House,
Yeah.
Blues Brothers.
Animal House does not age well.
I lived it.
Yeah.
We actually went to toga parties. And one of my favorite movies, the original Wall Street, Michael Douglas, Greed.
Good
is
movie. The
good.
new one was good too.
It was, but I really like the original. I love his speech. Greed is good because Greed is good.
But I think Shia LaBeouf is a very good actor. I know I'm in a minority from a lot of people, but I think he's a really good actor.
You know, one of my other favorite ones?
Yeah.
Dead Poet Society.
Very good movie. I wouldn't call that a guy movie. I would just call that a great movie. A guy movie is a movie that has a lot of action, a good storyline.
How about these for guy movies? Patton.
Yeah.
Dorsey Scott. The Untouchables.
Great movie.
Great movie. The original Longest Yard.
I mean, I like them both.
I'm not.
You and I differ on that. I like the new one.
One of my favorite old movies, greatest car chase of all time, Bullet, Steve McQueen. I love Steve McQueen movies. They're just always good. French Connection, Gene Hackman, where he played Popeye Doyle.
You're going to let me go through this list?
Go through the list. I can keep going because I haven't even gotten to James Bond. Go through the list.
You just went 10 minutes naming movies when I said in the beginning I have a list to go through. All right, so number one on this list, ranked, is a great movie, Gladiator. Are you not entertained?
I wouldn't stop and watch it. I've seen it. It was okay.
I don't think I'd stop and watch it either. I don't think it deserves number one. Number two, I don't agree with at all because I actually didn't like the movie Goodfellas.
I've watched it. I don't mind that movie, but I'm not a big Godfather gangster movie. Other than The Departed is probably the best one I've seen.
I don't like mob movies in general.
You liked The Departed, though, didn't you?
I like The Departed. I did like the Godfather franchise a lot, which is number 3 on this list is the Godfather franchise.
1 and 2. I mean, there are 2.
I never watched 3. I keep being told not to watch it. I started it and then just never went back to it.
Godfather 1 and 2, Rocky 1 and 2.
Yeah.
On any list.
4. Rocky 4.
Throw in the towel.
Rocky 4 is right up there with those movies in a very different way.
Very different. I can't put, it's not the same as
it is.
2. No.
It is. It is.
Look,
American Pride.
Rocky Balboa was a great movie. It's right up there with Rocky 1.
Rocky Balboa stands apart from the other ones. It's even named different to stand apart from the other ones.
Rocky 5 was never made.
Yeah. I mean, Rocky 3 was whatever, but yeah, so I don't agree with Gladiator being number 1. I don't agree with Goodfellas. Godfather franchise being up there, I agree with. Braveheart was number 4 on this list. Good movie.
Top Gun's got to be my number 1.
Top Gun, you didn't even mention originally. I agree with Top Gun. Top Gun was my favorite movie growing up. I love Top Gun.
And Top Gun Maverick, which the fact that you haven't seen it is a crime. It was very entertaining.
I didn't get it. It was out of theaters so fast.
It was entertaining. Was it as good as the original? Of course not.
Yeah, one, I knew it wasn't going to be as good as the original, and so I wasn't, because I couldn't go with the kids, right? It's not a movie I can watch with the kids, and so I just, time flew by, and it was 3 weeks later, and I went to go and see it, and it was out of theaters already, and I just don't want to see it not in theaters. So
you need to watch that one on a big screen in the theater.
I know it's going to come to the drive-ins we have in the area at some point, and I'll go watch it at a drive-in.
Well worth the time.
Terminator franchise, number 5 on this list. The Bad and the Ugly, because it wasn't good at all.
Good, The Bad and the Ugly.
There's no good in that movie.
You know what? Yes, there was. It was a good movie. Not one of my favorite westerns, but the best music ever in any western.
This list, by the way, I don't agree with any of it.
Bull Durham on the list.
Dumb. Die Hard franchise at 7. I've never seen Die Hard.
I've seen Die Hard, the first one. Good movie.
I've never seen any of them. Tombstone is number 8. Tombstone should be way higher on this list.
Way higher.
Tombstone is one of the greatest movies of all time, let alone the greatest guy movie of all time.
That's one of those movies your mom would leave the house because the 3 of us would start doing the lines back and forth.
I could probably still do the lines for that movie. I mean, the fact that Billy Bob Thornton, you had, talk about an Oscar performance. The fact that Val Kilmer didn't win an Oscar for that performance alone it boggles my mind. Like, considering what actors are being nominated for now, I get it was different in the 90s where you had to be part of, and that's why Val Kilmer disappeared from the limelight. He wanted to do more of movies like that were Oscar movies. But Val Kilmer
That was an
should
Oscar
have
movie.
won
Yes.
the Oscar for that. Kurt Russell should have been nominated. The script should have won for that movie. That is a great movie. Number 9, the first half of this movie was good. Let's see if you can guess. Only the first half of this movie was good. The second half of this movie was garbage. It was a Stanley Kubrick movie
I got nothing.
about the Vietnam War.
Oh. Apocalypse Now?
Full Metal Jacket.
Full Metal Jacket. Okay, it's one of the two. They're the same
Yes.
thing. Yeah, not one I'd ever sit and watch again.
I watched the first half, was really excited for the second half of that movie, and then just waited for it to end. I was like, I guess I'm here. I might as well finish it.
No thanks.
10 Shawshank Redemption, again, a movie that should have been much higher on that list.
Bull Durham should have been on that list. The single greatest movie about minor league baseball ever written.
One movie you didn't even mention.
Great Escape.
You mentioned that one. I'm actually really disappointed in you right now for this
I
because
probably
this should be
Caddyshack.
in the top 5.
Caddyshack.
No.
What?
Indiana Jones.
Oh yeah. Well, Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark, and Last Crusade. Those
Yeah.
two. And I actually do have those written down.
Right.
Great guy movies.
Grayson wants to watch. My oldest wants to watch Indiana Jones.
The Raiders
I'm
of the
very
Lost Ark.
excited. Yeah, I'm going to introduce him with Raiders of the Lost Ark. That is the
think he's
movie you
ready?
start with.
Yeah, are
There's
you gonna,
nothing crazy
are
in
you
there.
going to tell him that the movie? I can't watch that movie ever since The Big Bang Theory. Amy Farrah Fowler,
Yeah,
should
I'm not
never-
bringing that up.
she is bad. She's an evil, evil woman for ruining that movie.
She's
for
not
every
real.
guy.
It was the script writers that did that.
They are evil people. Because I can't get it out of my head now that
He had nothing to do with it.
it.
Yeah, he was
It's-
pointless.
All ended the same exact way.
Yeah.
Damn you, Amy Farrah Fowler. And script writers.
There you go. It's a fictional character.
I understand that.
So I don't watch bad TV shows.
Big
But
Bang
Indiana
Theory
Jones,
was a good TV show.
it was funny
It was
for the
funny.
first couple seasons. And then
Amy Farrah Fowler
jumped the
showed up.
shark.
No,
But Indiana Jones franchise, especially those two were great.
those two are great.
I debated, like, do you start with Raiders of the Lost Ark or do you start with The Last Crusade? Because The Last Crusade is the better movie.
It is a much better movie.
But you got to start with Raiders of the Lost Ark.
You do. Here's another one I was surprised that you didn't list on that. Apollo 13.
Okay, I haven't made this list. I need
Okay,
you
I
to
know that.
understand this.
I know.
I feel like you are blaming me for this
I'm
list
not blaming you for
when
the
this
list.
is not my list.
Got it. My list is better.
Fight Club is on this list.
Fight-
Should be in the top 10.
Fight Club should be 1 or 2 probably.
Yes.
Because that is an
It's
unbelievable.
13 on this list.
No.
That automatically makes this list stupid.
Yeah, it is. Fight Club has got to be 1 or 2 because
Yes.
it is.
I mean, it is one of the greatest movies of all time.
We don't talk about Fight Club.
Correct. So we will move on. Dirty Harry's number 14. Predator is on this list.
Yeah.
The fact that this movie is even on this list of a good movie at all, the fact that people even enjoy this movie to begin with, boggles my mind. This is one of the biggest garbage movies, the most by far overrated movie of all time. The story sucked, the acting's bad, the premise makes no sense.
Don't hold back. I mean, I want to know how you really feel about
This
this
is a
movie.
dumb movie, especially with the actors you had, the great actors and actresses you had in this movie,
Okay.
and you make just dog shit.
Okay. What's the movie?
It's Al Pacino, Michelle Pfeiffer, Scarface.
I don't like Scarface.
It's garbage.
It's got-
Nobody likes Scarface.
It's got one good line.
No, it doesn't.
Say hello to my little
It's a
friend.
dumb line. It's a dumb line in a dumb situation where a dumb character gets put into some dumb luck success and people are dumb for even trusting this person. And then it's just dumb.
Okay.
The movie's bad.
You know another good guy movie, and I don't know if it's on that list or not.
I don't know. You don't let me continue with the list.
Go and continue with
No, go.
The Rock and Con Air would be another one.
The Rock is a great movie. Con Air,
It's a guilty
it's
pleasure.
a good movie.
It's a
I
guilty
like
pleasure.
it. Okay, it's not a good movie, but yes, it's a guilty pleasure. But the fact that they even made it to Vegas in that movie
I
is
know.
so fictional, it's not even funny.
But it's Steve Buscemi made that movie.
Yes, he was awesome.
Just
He was awesome. But there's no way they allow a plane with a bunch of convicts on it make it to what would have they killed
yes,
hundreds of civilians in that plane crash. Not realistic at all.
all to save Nicolas Cage.
Correct. But Danny Trejo was great in that.
Yes,
Nicolas Cage is one of his better movies. Steve Buscemi was great. John Malkovich was great.
John Malkovich.
Cusack was great. I mean, the list goes on and on. It was a great movie for acting alone. The premise was stupid.
And The Rock was another one that was just. I will stop and watch those.
Yes.
They are definitely guy movies.
Yeah, that's a legitimate one. Like, you could see somebody taking over Alcatraz. Especially what makes that movie great is you have the bad guy in that who really was doing it
For the right
good.
reason.
It was a bad choice for the right reasons.
Correct.
He thought he had no other choice and regretted it. Like, he never wanted to go through with what was happening. That's why he diverted the missile to begin with.
Right. He never was going to kill anybody.
No. And if you haven't seen it, go watch The Rock. It is Sean Connery. It is Nicolas Cage. It's who's the bad guy in that? Famous actor, I can't remember his name.
Ed Harris.
Ed Harris is in that. He plays a great villain because he's not an actual villain, and it's perfect.
Yes.
And a guy in that movie who looks exactly like my Uncle Ed, which still bothers me to this day. First Blood is on the list. I haven't seen that. It's on my list to watch.
Great movie. I actually have it on my list. It was just a good Rambo adventure movie.
Should be higher from my understanding, but again, I haven't seen it. Pulp Fiction is on this list.
Good movie.
It is a good movie. Not my favorite movie, but it is a good movie. It's just not my taste.
Goldfinger on the list.
Not yet. 300,
Yeah.
which I liked that movie a lot as a kid, but again, they came out. I don't know what this movie is.
What is it?
The Outlaw Josie Wales?
Outlaw Josie Wales. Yes, it's an old Western from the 70s. I wouldn't put it on the list, but it was a good movie to watch.
Yeah.
I think Robert Redford starred in it.
The Great Escape.
Great movie.
Star Wars. Patton is on this list.
Star Wars
now.
should be on there.
Gran Torino, which I don't agree with being this high on this list. Rocky franchise is way below this list.
Should be way higher.
Untouchables, Apocalypse Now.
Eh.
Cool Hand Luke is in the 30s on this list.
Well, and Luke should be in the top 10.
Yeah, a lot of them getting put at the bottom here kind of as afterthoughts. Ghostbusters is at 36.
No, it should be higher.
I don't know.
I mean, look.
The Departed is 38. Animal House 39.
No. Animal House doesn't age very well, but I'll watch it every time I see it.
Caddyshack 42 on this list.
Caddyshack should be much higher.
Platoon 43. That's one we forgot about. That's a great movie.
Yeah. It's not my genre that much. Any Sean Connery Bond on there, just for the names they gave the Bond girls alone, put them on a guy list. You know, they had Honey Rider, Goldfinger, you had Pussy Galore.
None of the James Bond movies are on this list. None of them.
Should be.
So this list is officially doesn't count.
Smokey and the Bandit should be on this list.
Not on this list. The Patriot ends it at number 50. With Mel Gibson.
Patriot was a good movie.
That was a good movie. I think it belongs at 50. I think that is well ranked on this list. But no James Bond movies on this list, so it doesn't count.
It doesn't count. My list is much better. I came up. You told me you wanted to do this, so I just ripped off, and I ended up with maybe 30 or 40 of them. You know, the other one that shouldn't have, and I told you about this last night.
Yeah.
Enter the Dragon, Bruce Lee.
Yeah.
Great movie.
Well, The Big Lebowski wasn't on this list.
Yeah, that actually is on my list because that's a great movie.
No Country for Old Men is not on this list.
That is one of the greatest scenes ever in there.
That's a great movie.
It
It should be on this list.
Michael Caine movies in general should be on this list.
Yeah, Rocky wasn't until in the 40s,
That's nuts.
which is crazy to me. They put a lot of the franchises together, which I don't agree with because some movies and franchises don't belong on the list at all.
Like Rocky 5.
Like Indiana Jones 4.
They didn't make one. It's another one of those that they just didn't make.
We definitely missed some, but obviously the ranker list is garbage.
Bull Durham is in my top 10.
Bull Durham, Field of Dreams, Hoosiers wasn't on that list.
Yeah.
Yeah, no sports movies on the list at all.
Tin Cup isn't on. It could be on.
For the love of the game.
Yeah, but you and I are different on that. You and I like that movie a lot. Most guys don't.
I think it's the best of the Kevin Costner sports movies.
It was a great Kevin Costner movie.
I really do.
Draft Day is another one. I love that movie.
It's a fine movie.
It's not realistic in any way, shape, or form.
It does not belong on this list. That is just a movie you enjoy.
I do enjoy it. I admit that. Put in the comments your top movies, guy movies. If you had to sit down and you were on an island with a DVD player with an eternal battery, what are the top 5 or 10 movies you would watch?
I can't believe you said DVD. That shows your age. I'm surprised you didn't say VHS. But let us know what you think in the comments below. And while you're down there, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you get to enjoy this show as much as we enjoy making it. We have had a fun show today.
We have.
But you cannot have a conversation with your father without your father getting the last word. So it is all you.
So I'm going to go back to one I did a while ago, but it is still pertinent because it's still going on. We need to have a long conversation in this country.
Uh-oh.
Guys should not be allowed to compete against girls. Women fought for Title IX for decades, and they finally got it. They got their own sports, and we got to see one of the best NCAA women's Final Fours of all time. All that would have made that worse would have been for a guy who says he's a girl to go and play. He would have dominated the game. Let's put LeBron James in the WNBA. This is just stupidity, and it needs to stop. Unless you transition before you're the age of 12, which is what the Olympic Committee has said. I don't ever want to see that because no kid should transition at that age. They shouldn't be competing on the same field. Men are men, women are women. They're just different. Biologies are different. And again, I will give a shout out to Riley Gaines for having the courage to step up and fight this fight. Martina Navratilova has now come out and said, this is stupid. Why are we even talking about this? This should never happen. America is looking like fools. There are certain things in the world that are right and they're wrong. There's yes and there's no. And if you've got a kid who's 6, 7 years old, they can't drive, they can't buy a pack of cigarettes. Parents are still important, and they should still be making the decisions for their kids well into their teen years, because teenagers are the stupidest human beings on the face of the planet. I know, I was one once. So were you. So congratulations, Riley Gaines. Continue the fight. I will be right there fighting with you. Let's make girls and women's sports safe for women again.
You know, I didn't say and haven't been saying the scariest moment of my day lately because you've been mild. And then here comes Dad.
Yeah, I'm not apologizing. I've got a daughter. I don't want her playing against guys.
Hey, I'm not saying I disagree with you by any means. It's just I never know what you're gonna say, and when you go off the rails, it's okay.
I was rather controlled, actually. I could have talked about the fact that I saw $4 freaking gallons of gas again.
We don't say 4-letter F words on this show, sir. That is your rule.
Bad. Anyways.
How dare you? Yeah, we don't need to talk about the economy. Happy Mother's Day to all the moms that are out there. Thank you so much, as always, for watching. This has been Sports Talk with Dad.
Bye, everybody.